North Korea, a country now known for its oppressive and bizarre government that leads to a dystopian-like life for its citizens. This is the place in which our novel takes place. But how exactly did it become like this? For much of recent history, Korea has kept to itself, sticking to a policy of isolationism during the 19th century. This led to the name the Hermit Kingdom. The world was advancing too quickly, however. They had to eventually open trade. The Empire of Korea officially came into existence in 1897 after the Chinese and Japanese signed a treaty increasing the autonomy of Korea, at the time called Joseon. After the Russo-Japanese War, Korea became a protectorate of Japan and became dependent on them. After a Korean independence activist assassinated the Japanese prime minister, Japan decided to annex Korea in 1910. Japan began a war on Korean culture. They wanted it to be completely integrated with Japanese culture so they would have complete control. Schools banned speaking Korean. You were not allowed to speak Korean in public. Over 200,000 historical documents were destroyed in an effort to eliminate the memory of Korea. They destroyed trees and planted invasive species of plants. Important cultural monuments and symbols were largely destroyed, and those that weren't became tourist attractions for Japanese vacationers. They were forced to practice Japanese religion instead of their own, and they were even eventually forced to change their family names to Japanese ones.
My dad told me a story once.
He goes, do you know what Japanese used to do to us? I go, no. Used to hang Korean by the ankle with a rope. But below, they take a big pot of boiling water. Then they dunk Korean in, and we come out, right? They dunk us every time, Leia skin gone, right? And he goes, good night.
It was also at this point that Japan began to split Korea into two, North and South, because the North and South regions had very different exports and ideologies. This all lasted all the way until World War II, where the Japanese would use Koreans as forced labor in the war effort. In 1945, Japan was defeated and Korea was quote-unquote freed.
They were freed from Japan, but not from occupation. The peninsula was divided into North and South, the USSR occupying the North and America in the South, what was supposed to be a temporary measure. Then, the Cold War started. What started as a temporary occupation rolled into the Korean War. The northern and southern regions established separate governments, the appointed leaders of each both wanting to reunite Korea under their own political system. The North wanted communism and the South wanted democracy. The war started formally when the North attacked the South and began pushing the South. The United States entered in order to help the South, but even with their help, the Southern armies were pushed to the bottom of the peninsula. The North were halted and UN reinforcements from many countries came to fight the North. The North was pushed back past the border. Then China decided to enter and help the North, fearing the Western powers would begin taking over China as well. The war was in a stalemate, both parties stuck in the middle. After 2 years of no movement and peace talks, a ceasefire was agreed upon to stop the fighting. North and South Korea stayed as separate nations. The war left an estimated 3 million Koreans dead, of which at least half were civilians. Destruction of land and life led to diminished Korean psyche. They were oppressed under the Japanese for decades, then forced to kill each other in a bloody war.
For a little bit after the war, both Koreas were about equal in economies and technology, but the South quickly surpassed the North. The North remained paranoid after the great hardships that they endured. They became the most isolated communist nation in the world, becoming the Hermit Kingdom yet again. While South Korea was rapidly becoming one of the leaders in the world in terms of technology and flourishing economy, North Korea stuck with the communist system that they fought for. After the Soviet Union ceased to exist in 1991, they have had to rely upon foreign aid and trade with China to not fall apart. The presence of the overbearing and totalitarian government caused their economy to stagnate. Modern-day Korea is rampant with poverty and famine. An estimated 60% of the population fall under the poverty line.